Okay, you guys, what is up? The King of Lightning is here today to do Berserk movie number 3, The Descent movie review. Now, before I get started, let me say one thing, and then I'm going to dive right in after that into the actual review itself. So, I do not know what is going to occur after this. I have no idea. Because the way it was originally was that this was supposed to be a trilogy. It was going to be the first movie, The Egg of the High King, the second movie, The Battle of Doldre, and the third movie, The Descent, the movie that I'm reviewing right now. However, I've been hearing that they may do one of two things. Either A, they may continue with the movies, and instead of leaving it as a trilogy, they're going to branch it out even further and make it like a Harry Potter Saw type of thing. Slaw, what the fuck? I hate coleslaw. But that's number one. Number two is that they may leave the trilogy as it is, and they may do an anime and start from the end point of the last movie. Now, I'd rather the latter, because with an anime series, you can actually put a lot more details per episode each week. That is probably going to be only around 30 minutes, 25 minutes actually. And you won't you won't be as rushed. Because with the movie, they're obviously rushed, and they obviously miss a lot of stuff. And sometimes, when you miss a lot of stuff, especially in the movie series, it's going to pale greatly in comparison to the actual work itself, either the manga or the anime. And in this case, I'll get more into that later on in the actual review. But, in my personal opinion, doing an anime series based or starting from the endpoint of this movie is, in my opinion, way better than continuing on making movies. Now, that being said, this movie, so let me go dive right into the actual movie review. I'm going to dive like Michael Phelps, alright? First things first, we're going to do this in 3 stages. Stage 1 is the movie by itself, standalone, like the Ghost in the Shell, standalone complex. Number 2 is that we're going to grade the movie in comparison to the other 2 movies. Movie number 1, movie number 2. And number 3 is that we're going to grade the movie in comparison to the actual manga itself. So, let's start stage 1, obviously. The movie by itself, standalone. Only 2 things here, animation and pacing, because when it comes to story, when it comes to character progression, character development, character growth, the thing here is that that's already been fulfilled in the original anime series and, of course, the manga itself, so I won't touch upon that in stage 1. Stage 3 I will, though. Basically, when it comes to the pacing, first things first, the pacing is actually relatively good for the most part. But there were some minor gripes of mine. The first gripe being that the way the movie ended, where it ended off, I found very strange, like very random. I'm like, you're ending off here in this random plane, in this random location, Skull Knight, guts, sunrise. It's like we're ending off here, really. So it threw me off. I'll be honest, it threw me off. In my personal opinion, they could have, the best part to end it, the movie, would have been when Guts actually leaves the cabin. When he spends I think it was like a year and a half, or like a year or a few months. He spent some time in the actual cabin recovering, and then he goes on a journey. When he goes on that journey, that's when they should have ended the movie, in my personal opinion. That's number 1. Number 2 is that in the movie itself, there were a lot of these like jump cuts. Like, for example, we have Guts and he's running up the stairs when after they save Griffith, and then he's killing all these guys on the staircase, and then we have Casca and the rest follow him. They kind of jump, and we don't see him reach the entrance, and he's already outside. He's covered in blood, and some guys like, come here, come here, come here. So it's like, okay. So there were a lot of these jumps, with no real structure to them, my personal opinion. Well, there is a structure to them, but just that they leave it in the wind as to what happens. I mean, you can assume what happens quite accurately. It's just that I would prefer them actually show you what occurs instead of jumping in a lot of these points. But overall, the pacing was relatively good. Now for the next part, the animation. fantastic. Fan-fucking-tastic. The contrast they had going on here between the environment and the soldiers and the people. And the creatures, too. Like, for example, right? When it came to the scene where Casca is talking to the rest of the Band of Hawk, explaining how Griffith, he's kind of fucked. He can't really do anything right now. Actually, ever. He can't. Him walking and him holding a sword is literally illogical. It is a fantasy. His tendons are destroyed. He lost it. He is bones, as you can, pretty much bones. Malnutrition. He lost his tongue. So basically, we're fucked. And in that scene, as she's talking to the Band of Hawk, we see the soldiers. They're sitting down and they're listening to her. And of course, they're flabbergasted. They're stunned. They're horrified. And they're more like a 3D setting. But the environment around them was hand-drawn, nice, vibrant. The sky, the grass, flowed in the wind. Beautiful. Absolutely stunning background detail. And the main point that I have to make in comparison with the second movie was that the second movie did a poor, in my personal opinion, they did a poor job when it came to the ratio between the hand-drawn animation scenes and the 3D scenes. And like, for example, again, in the second movie, they were dancing in the ballroom and every dude was 3D. It was like, why is everyone 3D? That's fucking weird. But in this one, they went back to the old style that they did in the first movie, where the ratio between the hand-drawn animation scenes superseded that of the 3D scenes. There were minimal 3D scenes, but they were still there. Like, again, the soldiers who were sitting down in the plane area listening to Casca, they were more 3D, like the fodder random soldiers. They were more 3D-esque. But again, when it comes to the main known characters like Gaston, like Judo, Pippin, Crocus, they were more hand-drawn, and the environment itself was more hand-drawn. So there was a very nice contrast between the 3D and the hand-drawn. And also, there was a nice contrast when it came to that same aspect in the dark and cryptic scenes. Like how we have when they were in the alternate dimension. And we have all the apostles. Like, they come out of the darkness. Like, they literally merge out of the darkness. And they start off as like these moving silhouette figures. With like these glowing red eyes. And then like they just merge. And like they're covered in blood because they killed all these soldiers. They're eating all these soldiers. It looks all fucked up and nasty. It's like, oh my god. So so the animation overall, like even in the miscellaneous scenes, like the sex scene between Guts and Casca, and this may sound weird, but the rape of Casca by Griffith, even those scenes were animated very well, very well. So animation overall, like even like the environment as a whole, just fucking beautiful. Even in the goddamn alternate dimension, where like it's the faces and the blood and the laughing, like even then it was damn good. The sound of the metal cracking when Guts would hit his sword, Guts and Pippin, when they were fighting those soldiers that were chasing them, the sound of the metal cracking and the blood and the flesh breaking, it's like they did a very nice job animating this movie. In my opinion, animation-wise, overall, I think that it was better than both movies, number 1 and number 2, in my personal opinion. They did a fantastic job. So that's number 2 right there for stage 1. So stage 1, and overall, I'll give it a rating of good. Now, stage 2, when it comes to the ranking of the movie in comparison to movie number 1 and movie number 2. Better than number 2, but not as good as number 1. That's my personal opinion. I just said that the animation of number 3 was better than number 1. But overall, I think that number 1 is better than number 3 and number 2. But number 3 is better than number 2. So the worst one in my opinion so far, according to the old scheme that this is a trilogy, and that the trilogy is the end of that. My personal opinion so far would be, yeah, that number 2 is the worst. I mean, it's still solid, but it's the worst. Then comes number 3. Then comes number 1. So overall, the ranking of the number 3 movie is 2. So, I mean, And that to me, I mean, again, that's my personal opinion, but it does tie into stage 3, which is this movie standing with the story. In movie number 1, the standing with the story was actually pretty good. They hit a lot of points. They missed a few points, but they hit a lot of points when it comes to it standing with the manga. When it comes to the first movie, this movie, the third movie. So let me go to that. All right, stage 3. This movie standing with the manga. And here we go.
And here we go.
This is where the problems arise, okay? The movie missed a lot of fucking points. Oh my god. The movie missed so many goddamn points. I'm only going to mention 4. In my personal opinion, these are the 4 main points that they missed. And and there were more. So I know that you guys in the comment section down below who are avid fans of Berserk, the series, you guys, I'm pretty sure, are going to mention these points down below. Like, you guys are going to mention, oh yeah, and also they missed this, they missed that, they missed this and that. But let me mention these 4, and I'll give my overall rating after I do after I combine the 3 sections together, the 3 stages together. The first thing that they missed, Gambino. Come on, like what the? Guts and Casca, they have their sex scene. And in the anime, I mean, in the movie, they made it seem like it was nice and smooth. It went, you know, the whole she's naked, he's naked, nipples suck, fucking she backs away a little bit, and then he pulls her in. It's a nice little stare-off, nice emotional, passionate scene. They go back to the kissing. Guts kind of woos her into it, and then inserts, and then does the does his thing. And the thing about it was that, so like, that was beautiful. I mean, because it's human. That's what we do. All right. I mean, if you guys are young men and you haven't experienced that, which you will at some point, if you're not homosexual, well, you will, but it'll be different, obviously. Then it's beautiful because it's human. It's just what we are. However, in this scene, because the problem here is that this is Berserk. That's the problem. So even though it was beautiful, the problem is that it's Berserk. And in the manga, as he's fucking her, he has a traumatic scene. Because he has this repressed memory. And once he engages in intercourse with Casca, he starts to remember what happened to him when he was sold off by Gambino, who was his mentor, his teacher. Because remember, Guts' whole entire... Before he joins the Band of Hawk, he's a mercenary, and he was basically born into this mercenary group. Well, no, correction. He was born from the corpse of his dead mother, and then Gambino takes him into his mercenary group, and then Gambino needs money, and what happens is that he sells him off to these guys, and these guys literally rape Guts when he's a teenager, a young teen, and that scene is very important. Why? Because he gets fucked. Come on. Like, what the Obviously, it's a very impactful, traumatic scene in the middle of all this beauty. It's base human, and all of a sudden it comes to trauma. It comes to trauma. And Guts starts to just cringe, and he starts to hold himself. He starts to back in the corner. And then Casca comes and comforts him, and then they re-engage in intercourse. And so they miss that. They miss that completely. They miss it completely. They miss Gambino. Fuck. I mean, the main thing here is that amongst all 3 of the characters, Casca, Griffith, and Guts, they've all gotten raped. Well, no, Griffith was more willing because when it came to that one guy, Lord Gentleman, or I forgot his name was, the guy who was the leader of the castle, Doldre, Griffith willingly, he was like a male prostitute. But Casca, she got raped in this fucking goddamn movie, obviously. And Guts got raped when he was a young teen. Because Gambino sold him off. And they missed that. So that's number one. Very important scene that they missed. Very important scene. Number two. The Black Dog Knights. Come on. And then, because I was talking to someone via PMs. And they were telling me how, yo, like, they're probably going to miss the Black Dog Knights. I'm like, oh, if they do, fuck. And they did. They missed the Black Dog Knights. That the leader of the Black Dog Knights was an apostle. I forgot his name. Y something. Wyald? Wyald. Something of that nature. Wyald or Wyald. I forgot which one it was. If it was even that. Either way. He was basically, because the whole scene here, because they did miss another scene, because the way they escape the city is not that way at all in the manga. But after they escape, and we see Guts, and we see, basically like it's Guts and Casca in the carriage that has Griffith, they're being chased down by these soldiers, and they turn around and it's like, oh, like it's 100 guys of the from the army. That's not what happens. The king sends in the Black Dog Knights. And these dudes are brutal. These dudes are merciless. And they missed him. They missed the Black Dog Knights. They missed the backstory of the Black Dog Knights. They missed everything about the Black Dog Knights. They don't incorporate them in the goddamn movie, period. And that to me is a huge loss. Huge loss. And a bad move. Really bad move. So, that's number two. Black Dog Knights, MIA. Fuck. Number three. If you notice, Richard in this movie, he's not really relevant. He's not relevant at all, and that's a shame because in the actual manga, around the same time, Guts and his friends are being attacked by the Black Dog, and that's also how. Because you guys didn't say, because in the movie, like if you guys didn't notice, Guts always has this big ass sword with him, but when he was fighting against the Apostles, his sword wasn't with him. Why? Because his sword broke when he was fighting against the leader of the Black Dog Knights. Either way. Part 3 that they missed, the third thing that they missed was that Rickett, the entire time when they were engaging the Black Dog Knights, he was leading, or he was with another platoon of the Band of Hawk members, and they actually mentioned them in this movie, but we don't see them ever. Why is that? Because they get taken out. They get taken out by a bunch of apostles, and Rickett would have died too, but he actually gets saved by whom? Skull Knight! Who actually is the same voice actor as Uvogin in Hunter x Hunter and Blackbeard in One Piece. That guy, yo, I love that dude, man. He's grown on me. He's grown on me. But they missed that. Not a good thing. They missed that. No. That would explain why he's not there in the actual maelstrom that occurs when the eclipse actually, activates or aggravates. But when the eclipse occurs and we have Griffith do the thing in the red behemoth, whatever it's called, the egg. So they missed that. They missed where Rickett was. He's the only, aside from him, it's basically Guts, Casca, and him are the only 3 surviving members of the Band of Hawk. And they missed that. And the last thing that they missed, which is the biggest thing of all, this is it's like you're watching Game of Thrones and you missed Ned Stark's death, or you miss when the dragons come to when the dragon's birth, or you missed the introduction of the White Walkers, for Christ's sakes. This is a big miss. It's a huge goddamn miss. This final miss. And you guys are gonna know exactly, if you guys read the manga, you guys know exactly what I'm talking about. I can't believe they actually missed this. When we have Griffith say, I sacrifice, and then we see him, the hand closes on him and he starts to transform. The way it was in the movie was that he was in like this embryo, and he starts to, and his consciousness starts to dive somewhere. It looks like there's souls or like these blood cells around him, almost like a vein. And he starts to he starts to like see all these memories of what is going to occur in the future, in the past, in the present, all this stuff. He feels his comrades' death, quote unquote. He feels them dying because he's absorbing their souls to become Femto, the fifth member of the God Hand. And then all of a sudden it's like, I understand, I see, and then we see him plunge. He's all white, his skin breaks off, and then we see these wings form. Whoa, dude, no, you missed the biggest damn part. Because what happens in the manga, the same thing happens when it comes to the whole soul thing, and like how his consciousness starts to dive somewhere, and he sees all these souls around him, and then we see him go further into like the memories, and so that all happens. The memory part and the soul thing, that all occurs in the actual manga. But then he goes even further beyond. He plunges deeper into darkness. Sasuke Goku right there. What happens? He goes into this area called the Abyss, where all human souls lie. And then he goes into the Abyss, and in the center of this Abyss, what does he see? And what does he talk to? The idea of evil. Come on. Why is that so important? Because the idea of evil is literally God. It is basically the manifestation of the human desire of God. Humans wanted God to exist. Therefore, this thing came about. The idea of evil. It was born. It was created. And it is at the center of this maelstrom that's known as the Abyss, where all human souls lie once they die. And Griffith talks to the idea of evil, and it explains how it knows everything. It knows who is going to die, who is going to be born, and where the earth will lead in the future. And the whole point of Guts, the character, and Skull Knight, these characters, these men, well, Skull Knight, I can't really call him a man, but whatever. It's a struggle against the idea of evil. The idea of evil is pretty much the main bad guy, the main villain, the it factor. The idea of evil is the one that gives Griffith his powers, and he transforms as Femto. The idea of evil. And they miss that. No! I can't believe they missed the idea of evil. That to me was so bad. How can you miss that? How can you miss the idea of evil? So, and those are like the four main things that they missed in the movie. So, that being said, I mean, when it comes to it by itself, I like it. It's good. In comparison to the movies as a whole, the trilogy, it's number 2 on my list. But when it comes to it standing in the manga, no. It's actually relatively bad, because they missed a lot of shit. I mentioned only 4 things. They missed several other things. They missed a lot of things in this movie. More than any other movie that I've seen in the Berserk trilogy. They missed a lot of shit. Oh, they missed the idea of evil. I cannot believe they missed the idea of evil. So the rating overall, I'm gonna give it an okay, because we have the good from the movie standalone, and then we have the bad from the respect to the manga. So that's overall okay by itself. And number 2 rating overall, that's okay. So overall, it's okay. It's okay. So I'm done. King of Lightning. Be sure, of course, rate, comment, and subscribe as always. Peace. Have a nice day. They missed the idea of evil. Fuck.